The news started as a whisper. China was digging enormous holes in the mountains, not just holes but pits so vast they could swallow entire villages. Soon, rumors spread. These pits were being filled with billions of liters of water. At first, the world barely noticed. It sounded like a local oddity, maybe an exaggeration. But the scale was staggering. Imagine dozens of skyscraper-deep craters carved into remote mountains, waiting for rivers to be diverted. This wasn't a dam in a valley. It was something new lakes built high in the mountains where nature never intended. The audacity caught global attention. China was reshaping its own landscape to solve a crisis. The numbers were mind-boggling. Billions of cubic meters of rock moved, enough water to fill millions of swimming pools. For city dwellers it was abstract. For mountain villagers it was daily life, trucks, explosions and mountains hollowed out. The project was a feat of engineering and brute force. The world began to ask, why take such a risk? The answer was simple: water. China's history is defined by its rivers, the Yellow and the Yangtze, both lifelines and threats. But now, water distribution is a crisis. The north is dry, the south is wet, cities are thirsty, farms are parched. These mountain pits were China's boldest attempt yet to conquer its oldest challenge. It was a gamble born of desperation and ambition. The government saw no other choice. The stakes were nothing less than the survival of entire regions. The world watched as China tried to bend geography to its will. The project was a symbol, a nation's will to survive, no matter the cost. It was a new chapter in humanity's struggle with nature. The question was no longer if it could be done, but what the consequences would be. The world was about to find out. This was the scale of the unthinkable, and it had only just begun. These reservoirs, alpine lakes built by human hands, were China's answer to a water crisis. The idea was simple: dig deep basins high in the mountains, line them, and fill them with water pumped up from below during the rainy season. When drought hit, gravity would send water down to the plains, feeding cities and farms. Northern China's water shortage was dire. Aquifers were running dry, rivers like the Yellow sometimes failed to reach the sea. Cities like Beijing and Tianjin faced constant water stress. The government had already built the south-to-north water diversion project, a canal system longer than the distance from New York to Chicago. But it wasn't enough. The mountain reservoirs offered a new approach, localized, flexible, and able to serve specific regions. Each reservoir became a buffer against drought, a lifeline for millions. They also doubled as energy storage. Water pumped up with surplus solar or wind power could be released to generate hydroelectricity when needed. It was a clever two-in-one solution: water security and energy storage. The plan was ambitious, but the need was urgent. The mountains provided elevation, the state provided funding and willpower, and engineers brought the technology. The goal: strategic reserves of water and energy, perched above the people who needed them most. It was a vision of security for the future. The stakes were high, but so was the potential reward. For China, it was a gamble worth making. The reservoirs became symbols of hope, and of the lengths a nation would go to survive. The world watched, wondering if this was the future of water management. For now, China had staked everything on these mountain lakes. The taps would not run dry, at least that was the promise. The gamble was on, and the world was watching. Building a lake on a mountain starts with geology. Surveyors mapped the mountains, searching for stable rock and natural basins. The wrong spot could mean disaster. A leak or earthquake could destroy everything. Once chosen, the real work began. Dynamite and heavy machinery blasted away rock, creating craters the size of stadiums. Mountains of debris were hauled away, reshaping the landscape. Workers endured dust, noise, and relentless labor under the harsh sun. The pit had to be sealed. Layers of clay, industrial plastic, and reinforced concrete made it watertight. Every seam was inspected. Any flaw could mean catastrophe. Then came the water-massive pumps pushed it up from below, or channels diverted seasonal rivers. Filling a reservoir could take months or more than a year. Billions of liters of water, once wild, were now captured and stored. The result, a turquoise lake, perfectly round, perched atop a mountain. It was an engineering marvel. And a surreal sight. The process was brutal, but the outcome was undeniable. China had built lakes where none had ever existed. The mountains would never be the same. The world had never seen anything like it. The question was, would it work? The stakes were enormous. The experiment was underway, and there was no turning back. This was how you build a lake on a mountain. The challenges were immense. Nature was unpredictable. Freezing winters, torrential summer rains, unstable geology. The weight of billions of liters of water pressed down on the mountains, risking leaks or even earthquakes. Engineers ran endless tests, reinforcing every seam, modeling every risk. The human cost was high. Thousands of workers, many far from home, faced danger daily. Accidents happened. The work was relentless. The financial costs soared into the tens of billions. Only a state with China's resources and resolve could attempt it. Villages were relocated, lives uprooted, compensation was given, but ancestral homes and traditions were lost. The project promised a better future, but for some, the price was their past. The weight of water was matched only by the weight of will, and the consequences would ripple for generations. For the plains below, the reservoirs were a miracle. Farmers no longer gambled on rain, irrigation canals flowed year-round. Crops flourished, incomes rose, and new opportunities emerged. Factories and food processing plants arrived, bringing jobs and prosperity. The anxiety of drought faded, water became reliable, life more stable. Towns grew, businesses thrived, and even tourism blossomed around the mountain lakes. The reservoirs created a new local economy: maintenance, security, hospitality. The rhythm of life changed. Water scarcity became a memory. For many, the reservoirs meant hope and a future. The transformation was visible in every green field and bustling market. The water meant survival, and so much more. A new life flowed downstream. But prosperity came at a cost. Thousands were relocated. Ecological migrants, uprooted from ancestral homes. Modern apartments replaced villages, but community ties and traditions were lost. Many older residents struggled to adapt, their skills and way of life gone. New towns brought new problems: unemployment, social friction, and inequality. The best landowners prospered, others were left behind. Prices rose, and not everyone benefited from the new water economy. The mountains, once sacred, were blasted apart, an emotional and cultural loss. Progress brought pain as well as hope. The water gave life, but the way it was delivered left scars. The price of progress was paid in more than money. The environmental impact was profound. New lakes submerged forests and grasslands, destroying habitats and rare species. Rivers were diverted, altering flows and disrupting fish and sediment cycles. Wildlife migration routes were cut off. Some species faced isolation. Human activity and pollution drove animals away, yet new wetlands formed, attracting migratory birds. Reliable irrigation eased pressure on groundwater, allowing aquifers to recover. Reforestation projects tried to stabilize the land. The project was both destructive and, in some ways, restorative. It was a paradox of environmental engineering. The project is a symbol of China's ambition and power. It shows what's possible when a nation mobilizes everything to solve a crisis. But the costs, social, environmental, political, are immense. Few countries could replicate it. Most would face fierce opposition. Yet as climate change worsens, the world may look to China's mountain lakes with both awe and unease. The project is not a blueprint, but a warning and a lesson. It proves what's possible, and what's at stake. In a thirsty world, the conversation has only just begun.